Welcome to the 8 in the Box podcast, brought to you by Cash Considerations. My name is Dave Sharapan. I am the Sportsbook Consigliere at SportsBK Consig. With me, the quarterback of the show, Brad Howe. He's at Brad Howe 07. B Howe, a lot of shows go on vacation the week after the Super Bowl. A lot of shows, you ain't got nothing to talk about the week after football ends. It's not us. It's not us. We're here. We're doing the show, and we're gonna talk. How you doing, man? You good? How's the Super Bowl post Super Bowl recovery going for you?
Good, doing good because we're right into college basketball, dripping in a little hockey, right? You're a hockey guy, you like that. I see you've got the NBA hat on today. Good, we'll mix
Okay.
in a little NBA. You see, I kind of matched you today. I went lid, kind of a non-traditional Chicago Cubs alternate version,
I
in the
like it.
hopes that spring is coming and that baseball figures its stuff out and gets us some spring training
Won't
and
say
some
it.
season. Your boys, you got pull. You're on MLB Network all the time. Get in a room and get it done. Let's go. We got to have baseball.
It's so frustrating because pitchers and catchers were supposed to report this week, and they're not there. So they're gonna get something done. I just don't know when, and I hope that we don't get baseball season delayed. But if I was betting, I would actually bet on the yes, slight favorite. Producing the show, thank goodness he is. He's Dan Alexander at Newbie Talks on the Twitter, making sure that we're here, that people can hear us. Newbie, post Super Bowl, we'll get to all this stuff in football and what we saw and talked about. But your Valentine's Day present was a trip to see the Sixers in person against the Celtics. I would ask you about recovering from the Super Bowl, but have you recovered from having almost a 50 burger hung on your basketball team in person, sir?
Yeah, it wasn't ideal, Dave. Celebrating our love at the Sixers game, and there was no love to be had for Sixers fans. So we were both a little worried about what that says about the state of our relationship. But can't help it. 50 burgers. At least we were well fed, Dave. But definitely a brutal one,
Ah,
for sure.
at least she doesn't listen to the show. So happy Valentine's Day to you and to her. But yeah, they're gonna need the little bit of time after that one. Although then the Celtics went and lost as a 12-point favorite at home to the Pistons the
Yep.
next night to lose a 9-game losing streak.
I didn't
So
see anybody tweeting about no Celtics song then, but
yeah. CH, I know you're listening to the show. That's right. That's for you. No, Doobie's also, the co-host of the show, Cash Considerations, in addition to being the executive producer of that and all the stuff he does on Wager Talk. So a lot of stuff going on there. All right. I don't know, B How. Basically, let's just start like this. Super Bowl week. I'll get to me in a second. I spent it in LA at Media Week. It was amazing. Talked to a lot of people, did a lot of things, a lot of shows, heard a lot, saw a lot, prop bets, all this stuff. When you watched the game, all right, what were you doing? What was your takeaway after the game? And we'll get into some things like, are you good with Cooper Kupp being the MVP? Things like that. But your immediate takeaway while you were watching the game and then post game, what'd you see Super Bowl Sunday?
Yeah, so I thought, it kind of, some of the narratives played out exactly as we thought they would. We had questions about the Cincinnati offensive line. That showed up. Thought the Rams were probably the better team. I thought that showed up as well. I mean, if you're the Bengals, man, you talk about a missed opportunity right there. You get a couple turnovers from Stafford. You don't turn it over. You're right there in that game. You just need a stop. And you in your Super Bowl champs coming from the odds that they came from. So to me, it more felt like a missed opportunity for the Bengals because I thought it showed the Rams were the better team in that situation. That was kind of just my overall take from it. Cooper Kupp MVP, yeah. Although you know me, I was about ready to order the Cooper Kupp jersey, but all of his props didn't come through. We came that close on. I mean, again, your Las Vegas buddies, those numbers are so good, man. I mean, they are right there. 8.5 catches gives us plus money. We land on 8. But I just thought, listen, I get the discussion about Donald, and he was really good late. But that last drive, when the Super Bowl's on the line and they have to win it, Kupp was the guy. Contained all game, Cup was the guy when they had to have him, and Stafford made some great throws. But I was totally good with Cooper Cup as an MVP. Might be a little biased because I hopped on that at plus 600, so might be a little biased at that. But yeah, I was okay with that one. You?
It's funny because a lot of the way you feel about the Super Bowl is how you ended up doing. Like a lot of people that had Cincinnati money line are mad about the game because they gave up the touchdown, but then they had an opportunity to go down and tie. And the third down, they ran P. Ryan. And I didn't even know who P. Ryan was until we did the show 8 in the Box and you pointed it out to me. And I was like, wait a second, why is he running the ball right now? Because Mixon, I thought, was having a lot of success running the ball. And he needed 1 yard on a drive to tie the Super Bowl. I want my horse in there running the ball. If they stop him, okay. Donald grabbed P. Ryan and threw him down like a rag doll, held him back, and then that led to the 4th down. Did you think that the Bengals were going to go down and tie the game and get another field goal for McPherson? When they got that ball, I was like, this is Joe Burrow's time, right?
It was
this
the
is
story.
Cincinnati's time. It looked like it was going to happen, did it not?
It was the story. I think that's the moment as you try and back into some analysis. That was the moment, though. The overarching theme all week, every show, our show, multiple times, Rams defensive line, Rams defensive line, Rams defensive line. So it's probably fitting that it ends with the Rams defensive line, Donald in particular, breaking through. But I'm going to tell you what, he was about that close to completing that to P. Ryan, which we could have used for our over 1.5 catches for P. Ryan. We were close. Like, P. Ryan, can you lay out for that thing, man? I got $10 on the line. Can you get down on the ground and make a play? So it was fun. It was, it was fun. It's amazing how we talked the last couple of weeks, just all the different props that are in play and how much fun that makes it, and trying to keep track of, I had that one in. Look, that one cashed. I forgot about that one. Here's the one thing I'll say though, and this is throughout the industry. You can speak to this better than I, but when we get to the point where there's finally no latency, that becomes even more fun. This was the first year for me that it switched from watching the commercials. I'm an old school marketing guy. That's what I grew up in my professional life. I love the commercials, love watching who does what, love what the categories are. I really couldn't watch commercials. I was busy on my phone trying to look at the next plays. I got in on a couple flash bets just to see what that was going to be like, but it was so slow. You were having to put a play in, at least for me, with my system where I was having to put a play in, say, on the second play of a drive before the first play had even shown up on my TV, which I'm just not going to do. So I know latency is a big issue in the industry. When that gets fixed, look out for more in-game stuff even than we have now, right?
Yeah, that's going to be an issue going forward. I mean, it has been always, but the more eyes are getting on it and going, why do you know ahead of me? I'm watching the game and I don't have the same information. So betting during the break has kind of, eased that a little bit. Don't have that break so much in other sports. So it is definitely something that's going to continue to, come to the forefront is the latency issue with the in-game. Yeah, it was a fun Super Bowl for me, despite the fact that it went under. I mean, I had the under, so that was good. Rams money line worked out for me.
You said under right from the very beginning. You were on that right away.
Yeah. So and I'll tell you what, I don't know if if OBJ doesn't get hurt, I don't know if the game goes under. It looked like the Rams' first drive with him available, they looked like they were going to have a matchup problem there, and he was going to have a big game. Him scoring the first touchdown was the first audible roar in the book when he scored the first touchdown. Excuse me, at 9-1, everybody went nuts. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Every play, there's something going on. There's some cheering going on. You forget that when you're not in the book. So that was a fun part of it for me. And then just like a lot of questions, even I was answering questions throughout the game when the missed extra point became an attempted 2-point
Good
conversion.
one. Yeah.
My phone lit up like, hey, Consig, what is that? Is that a 2-point conversion? Is that a missed extra point? What how does the book rule that? And I was like, oh boy. And these guys that I was in the room with were like, Dave, I have this. Does this count? I'm like, hold on. Everybody breathe. Okay, first of all. Second of all, he did not kick the ball. So I don't think that's a missed extra point. I said, I think it's definitely an attempted 2-point conversion. Look at the box score. Check the box score immediately. It said missed 2-point attempt. Okay, that's probably how it's going to be graded. I walked right over to the Westgate supervisors, didn't go bother Murray and Rexy in the back doing the game, but I was like, what's the ruling? And they're like, yeah, we're paying out the yes missed 2-point conversion, the 2-point conversion attempted, not that it was made, a 2-point conversion attempted, yes or no. Yes, missed extra point, it's not a missed extra point. And I was like, oh, so you're sitting in West Virginia looking at your book and stuff. Did like that come up in your head where you go, I wonder what that is? And did you even have the 2-point conversion?
Yeah,
as a bet?
it's a great question and I think a great debate. I mean, I guess I understand it, but it's still it's a missed extra point in my mind to some extent, though. It's the point after touchdown, and it was missed.
Yeah.
That's one that you got to get clarified moving into next year. I did not have it, so that never entered my mind that how that would be graded, but certainly saw all that commotion afterwards. I think that's a great one, and that's one of those that's, everybody always says check your rules, check your book
Yeah.
rules. That's one I don't know that was declared. How would you actually know that?
You
That's a
wouldn't.
hard one to declare because just coming up with that scenario is hard to come up with.
Right. And that's the thing as you dive more into this and you bring more and more eyeballs into this, it becomes more questions. And one, how the ruling is, but two, how do you know? Well, you don't until it happens. That's the answer. It's not the best answer, but now you know and going forward. Another thing that came up with that play was, is that a person attempting a pass other than the quarterbacks? Because a lot of people had over
Yeah.
2.5 people attempting a pass in the game. No, the 2-point conversion / extra point is not counted as a play in the official statistics. So you don't know that until you do the prop bets. So Joe Mixon took care of that when he threw the touchdown pass,
Yeah.
and got everybody over. Um, yeah, it was funny. I mean, I met some people in LA the day I left because I went to Media Row and sat at the convention center pretty much from before sunup until late. Like, I didn't go and experience LA. I've been there multiple times. I was like, no, I'm not going here. I'm not going there. I ended up going to dinner at West Hollywood and had Peruvian food one night. Showed up and I couldn't even, I didn't know what
What'd you
anything.
have? Hold on. What'd you have? Peruvian
Peruvian
food?
food? Yeah. I don't know
So,
what it
so
was.
like, what was it? What'd you have?
Some so I opened the menu up because they have it on an app, and I scan it, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this stuff is, and I leaned over to the producer on the Bostonian versus the book, another Matt. I said, hey Farah, do you know what any of this stuff is? He's like, I have no idea. I said, all right. And so we were with another couple, and I said, guys, I don't know what any of this stuff is. You have to order for me. They ordered all of this food, so it's like farfel or something, and then I don't even know how to say it. It was delicious. This woman ordered, uh, she had a 5-game parlay. She ordered 5 different things. They serve it family style. Everything was great. But that's the only thing I did that was like out of the realm in LA, except the last day. And I went and saw the Rose Bowl. I went and saw Dodger Stadium, everywhere but SoFi because the traffic was insane. And I met some people from Cincinnati and actually got them turned on to this show, turned on to you and Newbie and Carl. I'm like, this is my shows and this is all the stuff. They were so excited to be there. This was a 59-year-old guy who had a heart procedure like a year or two ago. And he was like, the Bengals got to the Super Bowl. I don't know when they're coming back. I'm going to the game. And he brought his second wife and his son, and they were, doing a little bit of the tour Saturday. He came to the Rose Bowl, take pictures and all this other stuff. And it just led me to think like, Cincinnati going forward, like you can't assume Joe Burrow and the Bengals are going to be back, right? Like
That's the thing.
it's it's so hard to get there. It's even harder to win. And what they did, the road getting there, home to the Raiders, at Tennessee, at Kansas City, after a great season where they win the division, it's no shoe and they're even going to win the division next year, right?
So that's a great question. What do you think about futures? I know some people fired on futures. DraftKings and others had the had the futures up as soon as the game.
Oh,
Boom, here we go. I mean, you're insane to put it out there now, right? I mean, with the free agency and the movement and the people stepping back. And to your point, I mean, the North should be better, right? The AFC North
yeah.
should be better. That's not a lot. That's an unusual position. You get to the Super Bowl, and now people are going, well, maybe the Steelers find a quarterback. Well, you got the Ravens are going to be. Well, you got the Browns are still maybe the most talented. What are you doing there? You got to just sit here, don't you? You're not firing yet.
No, they're definitely not firing yet, B How. There's just
Yeah.
there's no like we would put these things up in the room and go, who in the world's gonna bet on this stuff? And you'd be surprised because you would take bets on every team. There's people that are gonna bet Jacksonville because the number's really high. They got a new coach, blah, 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 blah. So people bet all the teams. That's an advantage that I think is in the industry that a lot of people maybe don't know about or just don't acknowledge. But people come to Vegas and still make bets, and they do it all year long. Now they're going to make those bets in other states, but who's betting Jacksonville to win the Super Bowl in New Jersey? I don't know too many people that might. So you have an inherent advantage of taking bets from all over the country, all over the world, really, in Vegas that you don't have. So the handle's going to be up because there's 15 million or 20 million people living in New Jersey or living in places like that. There's 3 million, 3.1, I think, live in Nevada. So, and not everybody bets, but people come here. So, um, yeah, the numbers are, I mean, you see a lot of good numbers and you see a lot of people. I mean, even guys I respect are betting the Jets to win the Super Bowl every year because they can't help themselves on the number. I mean, they can't. Even these really smart guys, they
Please.
can't. I tease them all the time.
Please.
Like, what are you doing? Why do you waste the time? Well, they could turn it around. Look at Cincinnati. I don't know if Cincinnati did anybody any favors
Yeah,
with,
true.
with this thing, right? Like 2 years ago, they're the worst team in football, and they're in the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. So can it turn around that quick? Yeah, it can. But I mean, and we'll kind of turn the page forward here and talk about some other things. But look at the AFC. Look how hard it's going to be. I mean, Buffalo and Kansas City are the co-favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in fact, I'm looking. I got DraftKings up right now. I was looking at the AFC conference right now as you're talking. You're right.
Tough.
Chiefs and Bills 4-1. Then the Bengals plus 650. Broncos in it at 10-1. Is that a bet on Rodgers is leaving? I mean, what? Broncos.
Uh,
We got
the
work to do, man. But here's the Bengals are interesting though, and you're right. Then we'll move on to some other stuff. We probably have a couple of weeks to get into what the Bengals may look like next year. I think we got some time coming before we have to dissect.
little
But
bit.
they really are in good shape. I mean, they're in that mold of you've got a franchise quarterback on a rookie contract. You've got weapons on the outside, multiple receivers. It's not just Chase as we talked about. You've got two capable running backs, especially Mixon. He stays up. Really, your defense, right? Your defense showed a ton. That might be the biggest thing. This has been all Cincinnati offense. That defense showed up again. It's really one unit that needs some work. And I thought Zach Taylor made a good point, and I know he's defending his guys when they talked about, yeah, you got to upgrade the offensive line. You got to, and you do, and they will. But I liked him saying, I mean, they were good enough to get to the Super Bowl. Which,
Yeah.
Okay, pretty
right.
good point. There's a lot of other offensive lines that were watching Super Bowl, but you go in and you plug a couple key offensive linemen in that, and then maybe add some depth at that. Okay, I mean, Cincinnati should be in the mix next year. You definitely got to talk about it.
No question. And that's the thing about sports, right? Like you're constantly being asked why you didn't do this instead of just being asked why you did this. Like we need to improve. We just got to the Super Bowl, man. We were one drive away from tying the thing up. Like, and you're asking me about replacing my guys that I just went to war with and got, all the way to LA. It's such a, I'm impressed with his ability to work the media because he's been questioned. He's been, told like, what are you even doing here? And they were talking about replacing him already. And now, I mean, he signed an extension. Things are happening. There's a lot of other things going on. So, newbie, what was your takeaway from the Super Bowl? Just both in kind of your bets and what you saw, and now that you're really, in this space with everyone else, and now you have shows and talk about it. What did you take away, both like as a bettor and from a kind of a show standpoint, which we did here and cash considerations as well? What did you take away from the Super Bowl? I mean, other than some ridiculous food that you put together for that Sunday feast.
We were truly feasting, had a good party, like 20 people. But for me, the betting takeaway was thank God for plus money props, because on cash consideration show, I ran down every single thing I bet on. It was a list of like 20 things.
Yeah.
And I probably went 10 and 10, but I end up pretty well up because some of the longer shot odds that I had came home. Having a field goal in the first quarter was great. I didn't get the whole game field goals over, which people loved, but some of those more longer shots were really what got it, where typically, laying the money in the Super Bowl is what gets it home. So for a recreational bettor, I think I did pretty damn well. As far as the game, I thought it was a great football game, and everybody, the refs had to get involved. It's like, dude, that's football. Like that's going to happen naturally. And at the end of the day, you wouldn't even be crying about the refs if Joe Burrow had some semblance of an offensive line, because without the offensive line, or if he had an offensive line, Jamar Chase streaking down the sideline, Jalen Ramsey falls down. Final play of the game, Joe Burrow had his guy wide open running down the field. He could never get to him because Aaron Donald did what Aaron Donald did. I loved it. Halftime show was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was my first time hosting a Super Bowl party, so I felt domestic AF, and everybody had a good time, ended up some money, had fun playing squares. So all around, I thought one of the better Super Bowls in recent memory, since probably there was this random one between Philadelphia and New England. That one was a pretty good Super Bowl, but I enjoyed it, man. Thanks for asking. And as far as, the betting implications, you guys saw the reported handle numbers. I mean, this space, as you referred to it, is going to the goddamn moon. Like it's crazy how bigger it's getting. And you figure the bubble has to pop sometime. Man, that bubble's getting bigger.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, even the numbers were in Vegas were up, but they're going to continue to be up because, in Vegas, you take bigger bets and you take more bets on futures. And that's why it was so much drastically higher than some of the other states. As the states expand, it's spreading the pie thinner. Yes. The promotional money will dry up, and you're still going to get more bets on this stuff every year. There's it's football, man. It's king. It goes up.
Hey, real quick, couple things before we move on. A couple individual bets that were maybe surprises or that worked that we had talked about over time.
Yeah.
How about our opening kickoff touchback at plus money?
Loser I had. Yeah.
How did that lose? Now I'll say this:
he should have caught the ball. I mean, he just
the ball and run it.
What are you doing?
It was 1 yard deep. Let's run, Sean McVay. Why'd you tell him not to run it? Run it.
I think they bet the no. Like they,
I was worried there was too much talk about that. That was too much of a talking point all week. It was making me nervous as the week went on. So that didn't go. Here's the other one. We talked about teasers, and we said that normally obviously the favorite is the way to go based on those numbers. But then we said whether you want to take it up and go under, it generally hits 65% of the time. If you want to go down and go over, that hits about 64% of the time. So it was 6 one way, half dozen other. That played again, right? Bengals up to 10 or 10.5, gotcha. Over or under, either way you had it, got you through.
Yeah, the teasers was
assuming you teased down when the total came down. So if you teased it down at 48.5 or whatever and got over the 42, you were clear.
Yes, that was the only thing that had the red number along with OBJ to score the first touchdown for the books. Every which way teaser won. We call it the four-way teaser. So the four-way teaser won. Rams down, Bengals up, over, move it up and go, or move it down and go over, move it up and go under. Everything, every which way won. So teasers in the Super Bowl, I was asked about that all week in LA, and I was like, listen, if the books could, they just wouldn't take teasers on the Super Bowl. The number is really good for the Super Bowl, both side and total. There's no, very rarely do you have like the Rams Patriots game a few years ago that was closed 2.5, but the total was 57.5, and it goes 13-3. Like, it usually ends up around the number. Occasionally you get a blowout like you did, say, Seahawks and Broncos, a few years ago when the Broncos were favored and the game was going to go over and there was all kind of things happen and it was a run out the other way. The Seahawks dominated. You get a dog to win a game like the Eagles that Newbie mentioned, and it happens, but the number's usually pretty sharp. So it's, yeah, it was a great week. I mean, I got to meet again a lot of people in LA. Didn't have business cards. All I had were hats. I wore different hats every day. I
That's
was
all you need.
that's
That
it.
and your
I was
Twitter handle. A
it,
hat and a Twitter handle. There it is. That's what you need.
hat and a Twitter handle and a show here and a show there. We recorded this show right from the media row there, and people were walking by and I'm screaming into the microphone and they're watching like, what is this guy doing? He's always here. He never leaves. He doesn't even eat, which I forgot to do on Monday. I was there 12 hours, totally forgot to eat, got back to the hotel and I was like, I'm starving. I forgot to eat. So yeah, I was in my glory talking to people from all over the country and doing shows. Saw McAfee and the boys, hung out with them, had them on, each interviewed with them on not eight in the box, Bostonian versus the book on props.com. You can go see that. It was great. It was a lot of fun. But then you come back and the game's over. And what do? You turn the page. You just turn the page. I woke up Monday and the first thing I saw was Brooklyn was a home dog to the Sacramento Kings. I said, this can't be. Who made this line? Boys, I know everybody's on vacation because you had such a good Super Bowl and you put the young kids in the chair and said, do the NBA for a couple days. Well, I mean, while you're in LA, favorites won every day, every single day. The favorites won NBA betting. So Howe, I mean, kind of go wherever we want here, but NBA betting, college basketball betting. I know you love the college basketball. By the way, I saw Tony on TV the other night, courtside against Kansas State. I was watching that game. I thought, oh, this team's going to do it again. They're right here. They're going to win this game. And then they do what they do in the second half this season. And it's so frustrating. But at the same time, I had Kansas State minus the points, short numbers. So I was like, okay with it.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you this first. All right, college basketball. Why is it so hard to win on the road? Why is it so hard to win in college basketball on the road? We're seeing good teams, short numbers, favorites on the road, small dogs on the road.
Yeah.
They can't win right now in February. Or am I just seeing stuff?
No, it's hard, and you're right. The home court advantage has bounced back in full force, given what we've seen over the last couple of years with non-crowds. You saw it last night in the Big 12, Baylor and Texas Tech. Baylor was the short dog, just +2. That I used your advice. I had a little plus money going there. You got Baylor before the game, and then very early on. I mean, you were only halfway through the first half. You got plus 120 on Texas Tech. Here we go. We're good. But that was another example. Texas Tech, hard place to play. Baylor, really good. Now you're starting to see some injuries come in, right? Baylor's been hit by the injuries.
Yeah.
So what happens there? But this is a weird time too. This is, you're exactly right. You turn your betting attention there for some to college basketball now, but this is a hard 2-week run. This 2 weeks of February, when you're into rematches, in some cases, Big 12, that's certainly true. You're into, some teams have mailed it in. Some are really kicking it in because now there's some desperation. Players can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The long season of a grind is under. Weather starting to get better in some spots, so you have a little bounce. I think it gets really hard to handicap here for a couple weeks until we get into the early conference tournaments where you can start to load on maybe some favorites or money line parlaying a couple together. But tread lightly here these couple weeks. I think it gets really hard right now, believe it or not.
Without a doubt. I know this, kind of talking in generalities. The second time through, when you got the road team as the quote unquote better team or the higher ranked team, laying a short number, I love the home dogs. I always look to these home dogs, and I know the books like needing the home dogs. But the other scenario is when you get like Tennessee at home against Kentucky a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Short number 1.5, and yes, Kentucky, quote unquote, higher ranked team, better team. They got no shot. It's these games now. You're the Big 12 guy. I cannot figure out whether Kansas is for real or not. This is the team. There's a lot of good teams in the Big 12. Texas Tech is going to be a problem come March. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, they're a real.
Is Kansas a legitimate, like their odds to win it all? I don't think justify. I'm not sold on them. Am I looking at something off?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm probably higher on Kansas than others. I mean, man, if you dig in and watch them, multiple guys, they can go inside, they can go outside, they move the ball, they can guard you, they can do everything. It's just typical of a college team. Do they show up on that particular night? They've been so vulnerable in some NCAA tournaments that I know people nationally get scared off about putting them as Final Four national champions because they just, for as good as they've been for 2 decades, they just don't seem to get deep as much as they probably should. But I really like them. Now, how much do I like them? We'll have to talk as we get into tournament and see some of the breakdowns of the matchups, because that's what the tournament is, Dave. We'll take 10 or 11 teams that I think can win it, and then you've just got to look at path. It's all about path when it comes to the NCAA tournament. Get a top seed, get a 1, 2, or 3 seed, get your path, and that's who you start to examine. But Kansas, real quick, Dave, their losses, Texas Tech, this is in conference. Texas Tech, I'm sorry, not in conference, since January 1st. Right. Texas Tech, Kentucky, and Texas. I mean, those are 3 teams ranked 3, 11, and 12 in KenPom.
Yeah.
That's what you're dealing with there. I mean, that's a pretty good profile. So they're in my list. Auburn, certainly in my list. In fact, I don't do this often because of what I just said. Path, they could get a path that you look at and go, oh no, they got no shot. I did take a piece of a future on Auburn at something ridiculous, 40-1 or whatever it was, just because the number was outrageous. They're in there. I think Kentucky's outstanding. They've got a ton. My guy, Oscar Shibwe, that was here at West Virginia, should be your player of the year, in my opinion, which, by the way, side note, keep an eye on his props. We were running on DraftKings there for a while. They wouldn't move it off 13.5, and we just kept hit it. They did bump to 14.5 on his rebounds the other night, and he landed at 14, but he should have a big rebounding day coming up Saturday. Kentucky has Alabama at home in Rupp Arena. They're favored by double digits. Watch that line. If we happen to get an 8 or 9 in there, I don't know that we will. I'm probably riding Kentucky, but watch Shibwe if you can find a prop, Oscar Shibwe rebound prop. If it's anything under 14, I would look to hammer that coming up. He had 14 or 15 against Alabama in the first meeting. Now they're at home. I like that one.
So
I wasn't even planning on giving you prop plays. Now I'm giving you college prop plays, rebounding prop plays right out of the gate here. You said get back on it. Here we go. We're back on it. College basketball rebounding prop play for 2 days from now. Here we go.
It's in the rundown, right? I mean, we got it in the rundown. Oh, wait. I didn't get the rundown because we don't have a rundown. We're just talking right now. This is what we're doing. So the Wooden Award is Player of the Year, right? Shibwe is now plus 165. Kofi Coburn is plus 550. Johnny Davis is 6-1. And then everyone else is 10-1 or higher. Are one of those 3 guys winning this thing? I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me now. Just kind of, I've been watching it all along. but not like diving into markets like this. But this is a fun market. The MVP market was a fun market for a lot of people. You know, I was going to talk baseball futures. If there were baseball futures, those are fun markets. It's pretty, I don't want to say it's set, but how do you say Shebway? I think he's going to win this thing. Plus 165. That's done.
When you're the best player on Kentucky with a name that's easy to remember, at least the Oscar part of it,
Right.
and you're on TV constantly with people talk, how do you not win? I mean, that's you talk about.
Right.
I mean, my man isn't coming out of the weeds here. He is sitting at Kentucky and he's producing at an unbelievable historic clip. I think he's MVP. Although, where's my guy Chet Holmgren? Can he sneak in there from Gonzaga, or am I too far gone? I got a 40-1 on him I took a while ago.
Holmgren's
He's a different dude.
He's down to 16-1.
So I got a great number, but he can't get home probably, can he? He's not going to overtake Oscar.
Because I mean that was the other thing I was going to address. I mean, the Zags were at Pepperdine yesterday, a conference game. How they were 31-point favorites. I don't think in my life I've ever seen a college basketball game where the road team was a 31-point favorite. Now, they didn't cover. They won by 20. Their team total was 96.5. I have no idea. People ask
in a 40-minute game. 40-minute game. Yeah.
How do you make the lines? I'm like, the making the lines for like the Super Bowl is easy. It's 3.5 or 4. The total's 50, maybe 47, somewhere in between. Let's settle at 48.5. Put it up. How the hell do you make a line for Gonzaga in Pepperdine? I used to say, I don't know. Like, we put it up and we have an argument. You can't put it 30, can you? Because it's too high. No. Well, you put it 24, you get bets on the Zags. Okay. So you put it up yesterday. I see it come up. I'm like, man, I know the guys that are putting this up. I mean, I know them personally. I'm like, how do you come up with this number? I'd be sitting in a room going, you're too high. Can't be 31, 30.5. Can't be, can it? The Zags are 6-1 to win it all. But you just said it. We can't play that. Not now, because the matchup, the path for them could be, they can be beat. At 6-1, you better tell me you're in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mean, you better be in the Final Four, but even then, that doesn't mean you're going to win it, right?
Yeah, that's why I think, again, I told you I had an Auburn, but that's, again, not even sandwich money on that. That's just a sprinkle to just have some fun. You just can't, the more critical, I think, than in any other sport, because it's this one and done with the high variance of college. That's the difference, right? Yeah. You saw that all the time in the book. The NFL's kind of boxed in here a little bit more.
Yes.
This college thing is, I mean, I know I'm out of screen now. The variance that comes with that is just monumental. And so what do you take? Do you take defensive teams like Texas Tech? That seems to make some sense. I can make a narrative that fits that defense is going to travel, whether you're in a big football stadium trying to play, whether you're in a smaller building, that it goes to the different venues. When you're a team that shoots lights out, it can be very scary to be on that team. I've told you before, my background in college athletics, I've been at Connecticut, I've been at Maryland, I've been at West Virginia through multiple coaches. Go back to the John Beeline teams at West Virginia that didn't guard and didn't rebound, but by God, could they shoot the lights out. And when they got rolling in a tournament, you like that, like, give me Pittsnoggle firing threes from all over and let's roll in the money. And they did that. They advanced deep a couple of years with John Beeline. But there were other nights when you'd watch that West Virginia play with Beeline and you'd go, oh my God, this team isn't top 300. They can't buy a bucket. So that's what your different styles of play, offense, defense. It's really hard. And then matchups matter. Matchups matter a ton in the tournament.
Speaking of shooting the lights out, let's just swing it over to the NBA, where the Celtics shot the lights out while Newbie was right there. 25 threes in that game. Shooting it from all over the place. The NBA is going to take its All-Star break this week, and it's kind of a time to really evaluate where teams are going and then which teams are tanking. NBA betting becomes the guys in the room focus on the college basketball because you're ramping up to March Madness, where you do handle for 4 days. The first 4 days of March Madness are 4 Super Bowl type days.
Yeah, no doubt. You've got to get Vegas for the term because I'll tell you what, two best sports days. I love the Super Bowl. I love baseball opening day. You give me Thursday, Friday, the NCAA tournament all day long.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All day long. I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
in. Two of the best sports days on the calendar. All
No
right, we'll
question.
get as we get into next week. I just said I think it's difficult. College basketball this time of year gave you the little Oscar Sheboy thing to try and keep an eye on. I do like Kentucky at home against Alabama this weekend, depending on what the number is. If we can get it under double digits by chance, I may fire on that. We'll try and look next week. We'll start to
Wait,
look at some more
Kentucky is playing
games
Alabama this weekend?
Saturday. Now this is
Alabama,
basketball. Now
yeah.
this is not football, Dave.
Yeah, yeah, but Alabama is one
I'm
of
sorry.
the hardest
Yeah, go ahead.
teams
Yeah, go ahead.
to figure out right now because that team feels like they can put up 100 any night. Or you want to talk about a team that can shoot the lights out. When they're on, they shoot the lights out. But when they're cold, they can lose. They didn't cover yesterday against Mississippi State as a short favorite. They were 5.5, 6-point favorite. So they won by 5. That number will be double digits. You think it'll be that high?
Yeah, I think it will be. But remember, I mean, Kentucky won this game by 11 at Alabama. It was back and forth for a lot of that game, pulled away late. Now you're going back into Rupp Arena here against a Kentucky team that's just so talented. I mean, he's got it back together this
what
year.
was the line on the Kentucky game at Alabama? Do you know?
No, you'd have to look that for
Okay,
me.
we'll have to
But
look
here,
that up.
remember, you talk about situation too. I mean, Kentucky's coming off that beatdown at the hands of Tennessee, and they're returning home. So you were talking about profiles that you like. I know you like home dogs.
Yeah.
That's a profile I like to look at. An elite team off an embarrassing
Loss.
loss coming back home against a team it's already beaten once. And you mentioned Alabama. Can they get super hot and go? Yes. But overall, they're just not shooting the three like they did last year. They're bottom 50 nationally in 3-point field goal percentage. So the times at which they get blistering hot and go on those runs are fewer and farther between than they were at this time last year. They've been very good from inside at 2, but their 3 has not been as consistent as it was last year. So if this thing, again, I don't think we're going to get 9. I think we're more likely to see 11. Ken Palm has this thing at 10 right now. Some other projections have it 12 or 13. So just keep an eye on what that number is. Or again, this is another one which you always talk about. If Alabama comes out and hits a couple threes early, what number can we get on Alabama? If you can get me down to a 7 on Alabama, boom, I'm probably riding that thing.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
There's just
What
one
were you
look
gonna
ahead spot
talk
for you.
about the hockey? Because the hockey's been incredible the last couple days, couple weeks. It's really been pretty good as far as betting. I'm sure you know. I know you've become kind of a hockey guy a little bit. You found some trends and some things that we, between here and what we did on the game within the game, both with me and with Julian Edlow. What have you unearthed for the people?
Well, you know me on the hockey side. You analyze. I just give you the numbers and I follow the trends. And I've said this before on this program. At PSU Auto is a great follow on
Dude's
Twitter.
awesome.
He's great. Putting this information in easy to read graphs for us, charts, has made this really, really fun because you can take his chart and say, okay, Florida right now is 15-2 over its last 17, 15-2 goal in the first 10.
Ridiculous.
So, all right, we look at that. We see who they're playing. Is it an offensive team? Is it a bad defensive team? Let's roll. The Devils are still humping along here, Dave. It's not perfect like it was, but 20-3. Yes, in the goal in the first 10 over the last 23. So the Devils continue to be a cash cow in that market. And there's some other ones you can go, again, check out PSU Auto. A couple first period over teams that have been very good. And obviously those are correlated a little bit, right? If you get a goal in the first 10, your chances of getting to 2 in the first period go up quite a bit. The Blues on a 9-0 run over 1.5 first period.
Damn.
And then Ottawa, Florida's rolling, Toronto, Devils are 19-5 over first period. So there's a bunch of those that you can find if you want to have some fun with the goal in the first 10 first period.
No doubt. And I think those things are, again, we're talking globally, so not specific matchups, but you can take that. Those don't go away. I know in the book, you get so frustrated, putting up the numbers because you can't make it high enough to keep people off of it. guys like you will come in and lay $1.90, lay $2 because
Yeah.
it just keeps happening.
It hits.
You see books now. I mean, they tried that move where it's going the first 10 minutes, no, going the first 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Try to figure out a way to get around it. Sometimes you'll see the total go to 2 because it's just 1.5 is like, look, let's take the push, just move the number to 2 because there's no defense for this right now. Every time the Devils play, anyone that's capable of scoring goals that's over 1.5 goals has scored in the first period, whether it's them or the other team. So there's some books now that are like doing different markets. Who's going to win the first period? And it's a 3-way, so it includes the tie. You can look at those as different markets. These micro market things, I mean, I make fun of the word and, it's in everybody's ecosystem. Sorry, I was just at an investors conference and I got all the buzzwords, so I can't help myself between the ecosystems and the micro markets. But a lot of people are diving into it and betting it. I think you can get some good advantage bets, let alone, listen, it's fun. I mean, you get more fun. You don't have to watch a whole game. We're all busy people. And if I only have to watch the first period of a game instead of a whole hockey game, and I still win a bet, that's what people are doing. That's what the kids are doing. Like this, you get attention spans of a gnat sometimes for a lot of these young people. Nothing personal.
Or some of us old people too. I mean, it's
Well,
it's 7:20.
old
7:20. I'm cashing it. Let's go on to the next thing.
Right. For the old people, it's like you got to get your bets finalized before you fall asleep. You can't make it to the end of the game,
True.
especially back on the East Coast. Like it's just true. Everybody's different. But yes, you get the bets done. So it's fun. And that's what all of this is about. So noobs, like you're looking at lacrosse, right? Like lacrosse betting is starting to get a little bit of a foothold. What are you looking at? Like football is your thing, all right? And that's what we talk about most. But between the lacrosse and what else are you looking at betting, or do you kind of take a break and take your foot off the gas?
I try, if I don't feel like I have an edge, to wean off. Like I caught myself into being one of those guys who, oh my God, something's on TV, I got to have action on it. And then, that's where you really start screwing up your bankroll, where you really start losing money. So lacrosse, I feel like I have an edge in betting it. I feel like actually I haven't missed a bet that I've placed yet. And it's early in the season, so, regression will be coming, but, cashing on dogs like crazy. So I'm going to keep going with I'm going to definitely keep going with the lacrosse. Actually, it's funny that you asked me. I was just crafting my money line parlay for the week while you asked me. We got home on a dog yesterday. So for this weekend, no, it's a tough board. People are looking for actionable info. I'm going to give a lean on Loyola, Maryland. They're playing Johns Hopkins. I would play them on the spread. It's plus money. You have to lay 2.5 goals. Loyola just got embarrassed by Maryland. I think this is a good bounce back spot for them. Wow. Johns Hopkins, some new players, some new coaches. They're trying to really purse through some things. So I think Loyola, Maryland would probably be my lean for the actionable info folks on the show today, Dave.
All right, well, keep the video up because it looks like B House is gone. So
so now it's you and me. Welcome to 8 in the Box with Newbie and Sharapan.
we got to swing it out and get out of here anyway. So timing was perfect. He just did the what do they call this? The Irish goodbye, where you just disappear.
That's my favorite way to leave a party, man. Never say goodbye. You just drop a good joke. He actually did it textbook, because how to truly do the Irish goodbye, you have to make an impactful statement or a good joke, because then people remember you were at the party. They remember that moment. They don't remember you leaving. So he drops the amazing first 10 trend, and he says, sayonara, sons of God.
That's it. He's gone. So yeah, nice exit strategy there for B Howe. But he's Brad Howe, 07 on the Twitter. You got to follow him and follow the show 8 in the Box right here on the Cash Considerations podcast channel on YouTube. He's Dan Alexander. He's at Newbie Talks on the Twitter, and myself, Dave Sharapan, early in the morning out west, but always here always on time. Well, not really always on time. I try my best, people. I try my best. It's at SportsBK Consig on the Twitter. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. We got a lot more in store. We got stuff coming up. We'll talk to you there. Follow us along as well on Cash Considerations on Twitter at Cash Consid Show. See you guys next week.